What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back finally for another episode of Bodybuilding University. And Martin, you look so unhappy about it at the bottom of the screen. What's up, man? How you been?
What's up? Good, man. Just living the dream, getting ready for the Arnold.
Yeah, very nice.
When do you start prep for that, Martin?
I'll probably start like middle of December, maybe a little bit before December 1st, probably, actually.
Like January, February, and then all December. That's like 13, 14.
You don't really get – I mean, you got to start prep before you know, because we won't find out till the end of December.
That's annoying.
So, I mean, I'm pretty lean right now. I'm just trying to rebound into it a little bit, you know. So.
Yeah. You look good, dude. You look very good.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, Martin, you've like leveled up, like especially just lately. Like, looks like
I feel like everything's clicking, man. It's really, I'm excited for this next year. Really excited for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And we're also joined by Beef Stu up in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to switch myself with you because I'm used to being in that top right-hand corner. Does that switch for you when I move it around?
Yeah, I'm on the top left now.
Okay, cool, beautiful, awesome. So, Beef Stu Sutherland, man, how you been? Like, I've seen some updates and you're looking ridiculous. I'll pull up your guys' updates recently because you're all actually looking pretty awesome at the moment. But how's the off-season going, man? And what's the plans for next year?
It's going good. I'm not fat yet. I'm pretty heavy. I'm like 280 right now. Probably got another 5-7 pounds I want to go up from here. But honestly, like I'm probably going to run my off season through the middle of January, take a little break, and then just start prepping for the season. I'm going to start in New York and just go from there because I really want to qualify next year, and that might take one show. It might take a lot. So I might be doing what fucking Stan did last year, you know, hit every show. Should have won at least one. Stan.
Bro, thank you.
That's neither here nor there. But yeah, you know, I'm anticipating a pretty long season. So, I mean, you know, I'm probably gonna do like a 12-week prep and then just keep in shape for a while until I can hopefully qualify.
Yeah, and that's obviously from last year, man. You lost a hair. What's the reason behind this?
Honestly, I regret it now because like no one recognizes me. Like I just look like every other fucking meathead, you know. It kind of made me stand out, but it was just getting so annoying. Like it was all in my eyes, and like people don't realize it's like I'm not losing hair, right? But when you have long hair, it still falls out like in large amounts sometimes, and it was just fucking everywhere, dude. So it's much more convenient now, but very generic. Everyone's been saying I look like I have Down syndrome since I shaved my dude, it's so like I don't think I kind of see it, but I don't know. Full on.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Man.
For sure.
I'm growing it back.
You look like a completely different person. You know what I mean?
You do,
like that's why like people don't recognize you because like people like are used to the hair. It's like I think you should get it back for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm growing it back. It'll be back.
It's
a solid 7 months to work on it, so should be good.
And take advantage while you have hair too. So
hey, I think I might have told you this. My grandpa, he's 100. He's about to be 102. He's got a full head of hair. It's like perfect. So it's not my future, I don't think. Hopefully.
That's good genetics for like longevity as well, man. So it's like
hope I got
you probably offset it with the bodybuilding a little bit, but you know, like somewhere in between. And Stan, you're on the road, man. How you been? I know you just trained back or something. Was it back?
Yeah, I did back and triceps today.
Very nice.
Killed it.
Man, you've been staying ridiculously lean for off season. Like you're looking awesome, but like, is that intentional?
Well, I mean, I'm eating like 800-900 grams of carbs every day for like 6 weeks in a row. It's just the way it is.
Wow.
but I'm getting stronger. My performance is improving. So yeah, I'm not trying to push more food for no reason.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think he was so shredded for so long, he just can't get fat now.
Well, some people have said something about that, like your body's like set point in terms of like your metabolic set point or whatever your body's used to sort of staying at, or want to sort of stay around that, and that's sort of its new like homeostasis. So Stan, do you think there's something to that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been pretty lean, and like, you know, working with Patrick those last few years, we reached better, like my best condition to date, and then staying, you know, eating really clean during the off season and like not going way too out of shape. It's it definitely, I think it's making some, you know, it makes me just stay lean all the time. But I always thought like as I would get older, I would start like I would be pretty lean like all year round just because of my metabolism.
It's funny, like I've found as I've gotten older, like a lot of people say, oh, as you get older, your metabolism slows. For me, it's always been like the opposite. Like when I've prepped the comps, like in later years, like even with the same amount of muscle, I will get leaner so much quicker, and it'll just be like, and when you are lean as well, it's just like a different level of leanness. Like the muscle just looks so much harder as well. But it's not just that; it's just I just get leaner easier. So you guys are obviously growing, so it's not a good really test, because if you got more muscle, you're going to be more metabolically, you know, using more calories to maintain that muscle. So it's sort of hard. But I've stayed like the same level of muscle from like one comp to another, but just the next one, it's like shredded easy. You know, it's like
I think because your body gets used to it, like he kind of knows what you're doing. If you're doing things right, he can understand, okay, we're doing this again, and like just like chain reaction just follows.
Yeah, exactly. And Marty, I want to feature some of your updates too, man. And before we get on to our Olympia talk and predictions and everything, because especially lately, like I said, like you've been looking pretty damn awesome. So is the plan still hit the Arnold Classic and go on a run of shows there, or are you just going to hit the Arnold?
Yeah,
or if you obviously
I want to do the Arnold and then do a run for sure. I'll probably do I don't know, whatever's next. There's I don't want to do the UK because it's the week later, so that's like a really quick turnaround. But Brazil's close. There's some other ones that are close as well.
When's Brazil?
I think it's in April.
Oh shoot! Okay.
Usually March, April. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, looking crazy, man. But
I think like,
yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting.
I just filled in a lot of gaps, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't put on like crazy amount of tissue, but I filled in the spots that were really lagging. Like lower lats grew, my arms grew a lot, my chest grew a good bit.
For sure. And I see like you going out and like training with Brett and like a few of those guys, and like Blessing was out there and stuff. And how's all that sort of stuff been, and like, you know, traveling around training with different people?
Awesome, man. I mean, it definitely made me want to go back, and like I said, I'm planning on moving to Florida so I can train with Brett 24/7. Like, definitely, it kind of rejuvenated my love for bodybuilding a little bit, honestly. Like, I mean, it never gets lost, but when it's to feel like a job, it starts to feel like a job, you know? Like, Stu, you have a real job still, right? So it's like,
I actually don't anymore.
You don't?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, bro, that's sick.
I am unemployed.
It gets scary though, because it's like it's the only thing then, you know?
Yeah.
So like I kind of in this nut where I was like feeling like my whole life was like only revolved around bodybuilding, and it was like feeling like a job. And then I went and trained with Brett for those like 3 weeks, and it was like the best thing for me. It was like, dude, you love this more than anything. Like, this is your favorite thing to do. What are you complaining about? Or like, what makes it feel like a job? Like, just have fun again. So that really helped me, honestly.
Yeah. And man, it's crazy like when you fall out of like a routine, because I've had obviously stages where, you know, like hurt my back and had things going on where I've fallen out of a routine of going to the gym regularly. It's like you realize how much it sort of keeps your mind together and keeps everything on schedule. It keeps like just more of a routine to your day, because there's a lot of people, and you don't really think about it, that just go to work in the day, come home and have nothing outside of that. You know, it's just literally monotonous, and they just live for 2 days a week. You know what I mean? And then normally one of those days a week, they're having to organize for the next week. So they've really got like 1 day a week to live their life and do what they really enjoy. And it's like they just lose, you know, that sort of thing that gets you up in the morning. You know, like you guys are excited to get up, or, you know, like working towards something, when there's a lot of people out there that aren't. And I feel like I fell out of the training and the, you know, all that sort of stuff at certain stages. And it's like, you realize how unstructured your day is and how much training actually brings to you. But being like, because you guys don't stop, it's like you probably don't realize it to the same level.
Well,
yeah, man, it's just full part of it. Like it never feels like it's like, I mean, it doesn't feel like you're ever doing enough, because like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over, like Groundhog's Day, you know? So like what makes it fun sometimes is like you need to like get out and spend time with other people, and like Stu said, like make connections, go, like we all hang out now, we all dive into this. Like sometimes when you're lacking that, it's like it gets like lacklustered, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What were you gonna say, Stu?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, you're talking about routine and stuff. Like it's been it's been 2 months now since I finished up working, and like it's been a weird adjustment because I was moving the first month afterwards, but like, you know, now I'm up here in Washington. I'm like, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to structure my day because I don't have to be at an office for a chunk of time, right? And it's like I'm having to force structure on myself, and I'm not used to doing that, and it's going to take some discipline that I'm not used to. You know, because, you know, you're disciplined with your food and all that other shit. But part of that is just like locked in because you're just doing the same shit every day and going to the office. That's what I was doing, at least. So I gotta retrain myself, basically. And, you know, training wheels are still on for sure. It's going to take a minute. So.
Yeah, because you're doing coaching now, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I got a supplement sponsor, fortunately, Apollo Nutrition. And their team's great. Their shit's great. So, you know, I know that like popularity wise, like, I mean, there you can do like content stuff and then you can compete. And I think I'm probably going to get the most eyes on me, and hence, you know, potentially increase my clientele by competing. Because I'm not a fucking TikTok dude, you know, like I'm never going to be that. So, but you know, I'm trying to figure it out because I've got more time on my hands now to work with.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things as well. Like when you're structuring your own day, it's like you've got the decision. So it's like you're used to being like committed to someone else, like a boss or someone like that when you're going to a job. Then you go from that to being like, I've got all these options, you know, like what do I do first? And it's like when you're going to a job, you sort of know what you need to do first, because it's like, what does the boss either want me to do first, or what's just my job? Like, like this sort of thing.
You
like
got
that.
all these options,
so like,
and you got all these distractions too. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's going to take some work on my end, discipline, but I'll figure it out. If I don't,
did you move training in the middle of the day?
I haven't yet, because my girlfriend is, you know, she trains with me and she's off at the end of the day, but she's going to be working a funky schedule, so we're going to have to like figure something out. So I might be training a different time, but we'll see.
Okay. I remember like the first thing I did in like construction was like move training to 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like it seems like all pros seem to vary up the time they train. Like it seems like pretty variable. Like I remember seeing sometimes like Jay Cutler back in the day training at like 1 in the morning and stuff like that, which probably for most people isn't advisable, but he was doing that, I think, just to like when he's Mr. Olympia, just to miss the crowds and stuff when he's out in like Golds in Venice and stuff. And I'm like, probably makes sense. Like even though maybe the negative of training at 1 a.m. in the morning is probably offset by the fact that he can have a pretty, you know, solid workout at that time and not be like harassed.
Well, you can just sleep till 1 in the afternoon. Like that's what they did. Yeah, so like, I mean, Phil did the same thing. He kind of switched after he started winning Olympias. He moved like everything to like 11 o'clock at night. And so like he would go when arm thrust was closed and train. But like he didn't get up until like 1 or noon or something like that. So like he would get like a couple meals in, train, then like just go to, but he would miss everybody. So it's better, you know.
I'm kind of thinking about shifting my schedule like that because I personally cannot get over the mental hurdle of like, because I want to do like videos, so training videos. I don't have anyone to shoot me up here, so I'm going to be shooting myself, and I cannot talk to myself in a crowded gym. Like, I cannot do that. It's so weird, you know. Like if someone was filming me, I could talk to a camera, but if it's just me and a tripod, I can't get over it. So, but if I'm there at 2 a.m, no one's there, you know, so I can get over it. So I don't know. I might do that.
Yeah, and the more you do it, bro, the like more comfortable you'll get, obviously too. So like, but definitely do something like that. You'll get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like when I first started like interviewing anyone. Like, my first interview was with Milosachev back in the day. I think it was Milosachev, and it was just audio only. And this was like so many years ago, because I had a website that was just like an Australian bodybuilding focused one, and he coached Luke Wood, who was an Australian bodybuilder. And I had him on, and I remember starting the interview, and I had all my questions written out exactly, and I was literally shaking like crazy. And then like since then, I've interviewed my idol Jay Cutler, and I'm looking at him, and I'm relaxed. You know, I was like a little bit nervous for a second before it, but you start talking to Jay, and he's so relaxed. It's like, hey, what's up? You know, like, and you're like, this is comfortable now. But it's weird how you go from being so nervous about doing something and shaking and like not confident at all, or just weird about it, to being like completely like it's second nature. Like, I'm sure like, you know, Sam Sulek and those guys who do daily videos on YouTube, it's just like second nature to him now. He wouldn't even think about it. He'd just jump in the car, probably not even thinking what he's going to talk about, and just be like, easy as, you know. And that dude is making money, man. I looked up how many views he's getting. Man. Oh my God. Like, he's probably minimum of $5,000 a day he's making.
Good day.
Minimum. Right.
Good day.
His videos get like 500,000 views average, if not more, you know. So
yeah, bro, he makes cash for sure.
He's gonna drop out of engineering school. I know I would. Fuck that.
I was like, take any time you're doing that and just do more content, like, or do something. I don't know. I thought about that, and I was just like, if you're making,
it also helps as a field, though.
Yeah, I wonder if like if he changes his lifestyle, is that gonna lose?
It helps his image right now. I think he's smart to stay in school, because it's just like all the college boys that want to be like him, bro. It's a smart gig.
Yep.
I'd pretend to go to school and just do other stuff. People in
because if you're doing other stuff, you want to. If you're doing other stuff, you want to have that, you know, captured, so it's more content.
Yeah, exactly. So. But yeah, he's killing it, man. Like, there's some other people out there that I've never heard of, and I hear of them once, and then I look up and I'm like, oh, you've got 3 million subs on YouTube and get hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of views a day. Holy crap! So there's some people out there killing it. So, and some of them, I watched someone's videos last night. I'm not going to say who, but I watched them, and they were getting, I looked as an average of 1.3 million views a day, and they were young. And I watched their video production and everything, and I think it's just the regularity of the videos, and they've had a few that have just popped off. And I'm like, 1.3 million views a day is a lot of money, depending if some of them are shorts, because shorts don't make that much. But some of the other ones, I'm like, some of these people are making bank. And it's just weird. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, let's get into this Mr. Olympia preview, because it's a pretty exciting Olympia, because we've got like 7 guys, I think, that could realistically have a chance. Some of them obviously much less chance than others, but there's a lot of guys that could win the 2023 Mr. Olympia. And I'll bring up, obviously, last year's Mr. Olympia and one-time Mr. Olympia and Hadi Choopan. I mean, I put a poll out on my Instagram and also on my YouTube channel yesterday, and Hadi Choopan's getting maybe like 15% of people think he's going to win this year when I put up all the options. Marty, do you think that's too low? Like, do you think that he's being sort of disrespected?
I do a little bit. I think one thing a lot of people, like, I was just thinking about this when I made my list, was like, a lot of people weren't there, so they don't understand, or aren't like a bodybuilder who's peaked for a show. But like, bro, they were supposed to be on stage at like 10 o'clock at night, and they weren't on until like midnight. So like,
it was crazy.
Yeah, bro. They didn't get like they probably weren't thinking about taking meals backstage and shit. Like, so he looked like that. Like the reason his back isn't exploding is because like he's flattening out. Like Derek's chest was flat because like he went flat before they got on stage. Like, so like we're gonna see some really different bodybuilders this year just purely off of peak because they have a lot less competitors this year. Like they thought it out better, you know. So I mean, exactly. I do think it's a little disrespectful. Like he's incredible, bro. I also don't have him winning though, so I can't be like too judgmental and say like, well, people are crazy for saying that because I don't have him winning either.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm like, oh, it feels disrespectful, but yeah, I don't have him winning. So yeah, same thing. Yeah, what's your thoughts, man?
Well, I think it's just that the fact that we've been seeing Hadi for now, like since 2019, right? And he's been consistently in the top, but he's not like exploding and like improving as fast as, you know, Derek, Nick, Samson, who are right behind him. And like last year was already pretty close. So now we're seeing Derek's updates where he looks way harder from the front, and we see like his legs are twice as big as last year apparently, and his back is even wider. So it's just like I think everybody is kind of like, yeah, well, Derek is last year was like half a prep in open, he did second place, and now we can already see all the improvement. You know, I think a lot of people have Derek winning the show because of that.
Yeah. And Stu, what do you think? Do you think that, you know, it's because Derek did take some points off Hadi last year, which means some judges at pre-judging or finals had Derek winning in Mr. Olympia last year. So do you think for that reason, that's why Derek is probably the rightful favorite maybe?
Yeah, I think if he is able to bring up like his chest, because it doesn't have that, like, look at Hadi here. He's got like fucking paving stones on his chest. It's crazy. Derek has a couple of gaps still that Hadi doesn't have. I think his conditioning was better last year, especially in the glutes, hams, and back here. Like Hadi does not look good in this video we're looking at here. So yeah, if Hadi's in his usual condition and Derek brought that stuff up, it's like, fuck, dude, that's going to be tough. I lean towards Derek though. I think as far as like, you know, they want somebody like Jesus. Yeah, he looks so good, dude.
that front relaxed is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think, you know, the IFBB probably wants a champ who is young, good looking. He's a golden boy, you know. Hell, he's even Christian, you know. Like, what's not to love about this guy? And I think he's got to be the favorite this year, you know.
Yeah, it seems like the conversation sort of changed a bit, like in terms of, it seemed like 6 months ago, like after the Arnold, people were saying Samson can win the Olympia. It seemed like it was sort of even between probably Derek, Samson, and Hadi. And now it seems like maybe it's based off the updates from Derek Lunsford, but it seems like more people are on Derek Lunsford, especially like the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I think it's got to be partly because of the updates as well, because the updates are crazy. Like you're seeing some of the shots and he's like potentially setting himself up if he doesn't nail his condition, well, not necessarily nail, but at least come in good condition. If he misses his peak and is a bit watery or something, he's lining himself up to get criticism and say, you know, have those posts, Instagram versus, you know, stage photos and stuff like that. But I don't think that's going to matter because I think that, yeah, we're probably not going to see it look exactly like this on stage, because I saw a comparison of before and after where it was like from last year's Olympia to this, which looks like an insane improvement. And if it is, it's like, well, Derek Lunsford's Mr. Olympia. Like I can't see any other way.
I think it is though. That's the thing. I think everybody knows that it is. It looks like a fisheye, but it's like I mean,
nothing's bending there. It's a legit picture. Might be a real good lens or something, but like, I don't know. If you know, if we want to bring Samson into the discussion, I think Samson can mop on some of the front shots. Side shots, not so much, but from the back, like Samson is like, he's just never gonna have those, you know, glutes and back density and everything that Hadi and Derek do. And, you know, he doesn't have those dugout glutes. And that's, you know, they look at that a lot. I mean, it's important at that level.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll get more onto Samson, but I want to just quickly touch on this as well. Like Derek Lunsford appears like he's got the lines through the chest this year, which he lacked it. He actually, I went through the video and he did have a bit of it. Like when you'd see in certain shots, like you'd see a bit of lines just on the middle, on the inside here, but it seems like they're extending out over the chest a little bit more this year. And because Derek was so close to beating Hadi last year, it's not like he needs to be going from, you know, where he hit the front double while the tape is great, it looks a little bit softer overall. It's not like he needs to be chiseled out as Hadi on that pose, because from the back, I think that Derek's going to absolutely nail people. You know what I mean? I think he's going to run away with it. Now, Hadi could be a bit harder from the back and make it a lot closer, but I mean, Derek's just so dominant from the back. But if he matches from the front, then it's his show, in my opinion. Like, Martin, do you think that, because you're sort of like somewhat similar to Derek in that your back is just ultra inside out shredded and you want to get your front a little bit harder as well. Do you think that he's able to make enough change to his front to sort of get a bit closer to what his back looks like?
Well, I mean, bro, he had an entire year off. Like, that's what everybody has to remember. Like, yes, yeah. Samson did a prep in the middle of this. So, like, did he make as many improvements as Derek? It's hard to say, bro. Derek's been improving this entire time, right? And like we never got to see Derek like fully let him go until now. So like obviously they probably did a health phase and like really let him go at it this year too, you know? So like we're gonna see a very improved Derek. Like I mean that's who I think the champion will be. But again, I still think we would have seen more chest and arm out of Derek if would have got to see his actual peak. Like that's what people are forgetting, you know. It's like you take diuretic, you don't eat for 3 hours, like you're gonna go flat. So like just being able to peak better we're gonna see like completely different body too. Like I promise you, he's gonna be way freakier too.
Yeah, and I think someone who that would have really disadvantaged last year, that whole time thing with the Olympia, and was sort of confirmed by Milisachev, is Samson Dowder, because he's a huge bodybuilder and he tends to go flat. He goes flat easy. He's just sort of like on a knife's edge. He's a guy that like can be really good 1 minute and then he completely changes and looks like he's holding fluid. So I think for Samson, you know, he came 5th last year. I think if he, you know, is able to have a better peak, and this was obviously from the Arnold Classic earlier this year, and you sort of forget how good Samson looked there. So do you think that this could be a massive plus for Samson? Because, you know, presumably they're not going to make the same mistake this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, I see Samson battling for 1st and 2nd, 3rd, somewhere right in there, bro.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like it's a consensus now that people believe the top 3 will be Samson, Derek, and Hadi. But there's still tons of guys like Nick, Andrew Jacked, who some people have even predicted these guys to win the Olympia this year. It's Brandon Curry, 2019 Mr. Olympia. Like, yeah, it's crazy how sort of deep it actually is in terms of who can win it. And some people are even mentioning Crislover, like, this dude comes in, you know, a bit bigger legs, shredded to the bone, and just, you know, is 6'1" standing up there. Is he going to overwhelm some people as well, you know? So it's really exciting. But outside of the top sort of 3 talked about guys in Hadi, Derek, and Samson, who do you guys think? I'll go to you first, Stu. Who do you think is the most likely to win outside of those 3 guys? Just say those 3 guys miss it. Who do you think's the most likely?
Nick, definitely. I know better than to bet against that man. Not only will he get mad at me, but he'll also prove me wrong. So, like, dude, he keeps on just surpassing everyone's expectations. He's been doing it for years now. You know, I remember when he lost the USAs and people were saying he's never going to turn pro. That was only a few years ago. The guy's psychotically focused on this stuff, and, you know, he's very consistent in a way that Samson is absolutely not. Hadi, again, you know, to Martin's point, like the peaking thing is a good point. You know, I think Nick is so conditioned that timing thing is probably going to hurt him a little less. I don't know. Who knows exactly what these guys are doing, but yeah, he's so consistent. He looked so great last year. You know, of course, his weak point is his quad sweep, and you know, standing next to those guys up there, it really does get exposed. Although his legs don't look small compared to those guys. You know, he doesn't have that same sweep, but they still look pretty big from the front. Everywhere else, he's just like, you know, there's not really any weak points. So, yeah, I actually have him in third in front of Samson, just based on the way I judge stuff, because he's so much harder all the time. Uh-oh. Did we lose Xavier? Is he frozen for you?
Yeah, he's frozen for me.
Shit.
I'll text him.
Well, I guess it's two of us now. Oh,
I'm back.
There you are.
Back. Sorry about that.
I thought Marty and I were going to have to put this on our back.
Yeah.
No. It was just I'm connected to my phone's internet now, which appears to be working okay. It actually appears to be working better than before, so we'll roll with that. But yeah. But what we're discussing, I completely forgot.
Did you miss all that? What was the last thing?
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Basically, Nick's really good, and Nick is really consistent, and I have him in third, ahead of Samson actually, just because of completeness and everything, and conditioning especially. But yeah, I mean, I have him in third in my predictions. Samson in fourth, probably.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that happening. And I predicted Nick in fifth, but I feel like I'm going to regret it. But I don't know at whose expense. You know, so I'm actually considering changing mine and putting Nick up in fourth, because I feel like Nick's almost like a guarantee to nail it. And he's looking really big. He spoke in a podcast on, I can't remember which one it was. And he was saying that he's going to come in. He said the weight that he thinks he'll come in at. And this was maybe a month ago. And it was 17 pounds heavier than the Arnold. And he said, and in just as good condition. So he believes he can be way bigger. And he looks at by his updates as well. He definitely looks bigger. Because I remember leading into that Arnold prep, he said, I'm going to get as hard as possible. And I'm like, I was a little bit nervous because I was thinking maybe he's just going to push it down so hard that he sort of sacrifices a bit of his freakiness. And that was exactly what happened. And I was that was the one question I had about Nick winning that Arnold Classic. And it sort of played out. But yeah, I think that Nick, I'm like, Marty, can you see Nick winning the Olympia if he just brings in something that's, you know, even 15 pounds bigger that he brought at the Arnold Classic with the same conditioning? Do you think he could just completely out freak people if a few guys are off?
I mean, if guys are off, yeah, bro. Like, I mean, Nick's incredible. I think he's someone that, like, one, like Stu said, like, he proves everybody wrong constantly, bro. So I definitely don't like betting against the kid. He's a hard-ass worker, and he likes to shut people up. So I'll give him his credit where credit's due. I still don't think that his freak factor outweighs some of these guys' shape factor. Like, it's like they're comparable in the same sense, right? Like, Derek's X frame is so psychotic. Like, even if Nick is so freaky, it's like Marcus Roll was so freaky at Night of Champions, but, like, is he going to win a Mr. Olympia? I don't know, you know. Like, I love Nick. I just don't see him being the Mr. Olympia champion. If someone slips up, bro, he definitely has all the tools.
Yeah, I think it would take some slip-ups on multiple parties for him to slide in there. Because, you know, like he said, freakiness alone. Can you think of somebody who's won just off of that in the past? I mean, even Ramy had pretty good shape. You know, he had a wider waist, but he was like wide as a barn door, so it didn't matter. Jay had good shape. You know, go down the list, it's like everyone still has really nice flow, you know, and there's just a little bit of proportionality. It's definitely way better than it used to be, for sure. But you know, I think, I don't know, when they're looking for a champ, you know, as like an example for this is the standard, and you know, given the physiques that they've been picking this year, you know, kind of more aesthetic guys, I don't know if that favors him, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I heard a discussion the other day. I was talking about like that they're favoring aesthetic guys or something. It might have been on Fuad's podcast. I can't remember exactly, but and yeah, it was between Ian and Fuad. And if they're favoring more aesthetic guys in general, or is that just the guys have sort of decided to come in more aesthetic because there seems to be more emphasis on smaller waists and doing vacuums and all that sort of stuff, and so there's more guys that are have that sort of shape and tight waist rather than what was back in the day. And it's like, I think it's a combination of all of it. I think there's maybe like a slight trend towards a more aesthetic physique, but at the same time, I think if, you know, we had Branch Warren from back in the day when he's placing second at the Olympia, I think that Branch Warren would still be right up there at the Olympia. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think so. It's still going to get you up there. I don't think it's going to get you the title though, because it's like, it's setting the standard. And if there's a look they want to reward, then this is the best way to reward it, you know?
Yeah. I think in Nick's career, I can definitely see him at some stage getting a top 2 because, you know, you think, oh, well, these guys, you always think bodybuilding is going to get better because you think everyone's sort of on the up. A couple of guys will drop off, but then there'll be more guys coming in. But there are, you know, there was years when I thought that was the case. And then you had 2019 where you didn't have Kai, you didn't have Phil, you know, you didn't have Sean in that one as well. Like, it was like one where it was really sort of like a, you know, more of a down year in terms of how many guys could win the Olympia. And then you had, you know, William Bonac, Hardy, and Brandon Curry in the top 3, still a great top 3, but that's a year where you could see like a Nick Walker coming in and winning the title. But if you get obviously a run like Derek Lunsford coming in and winning this year's Olympia, he's going to be the favorite next year too. So that would be 2 Olympia titles, and he's 30 or 31 years old. We could see Derek Lunsford go on a run and win, you know, I don't know, 8 Olympias or 6 Olympias or something. I could see it happen. I mean, if he wins this year and it's convincing, that's what everyone's going to be saying. Like, and it's, I think we're not we think it's going to be like different people year to year. And we've had like such a run. I think we've had 5 new Mr. Olympias in 6 years or 4 new Mr. Olympias in 5 years or something like that. So it's been changing regularly. But before that, Ronnie with 8. before that, it was like, it went Lee Haney with 8, Dorian 6, 5, 6,
6,
6, and then Ronnie with 8. It's like, that is such a huge run of guys on runs. And I sort of hope we don't see it again. But at the same time, if we live through like a Derek Lunsford era and he wins 8, then you can be like, well, I was there when Derek Lunsford won 8, you know, like Ronnie or something. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit.
Remember, Branch Warren got second, you know. Branch wasn't pretty, but, and, you know, I keep on saying Nick isn't pretty, but like, dude, I mean, he actually fits together in a lot of his poses so much better than he used to. He's genuinely improved so many things, you know.
Yeah,
they tell him he needs to fix something, he goes and fixes it. It's very impressive. You know, things that you don't really think you can fix too, like, you know, his waistline and, you know, stuff like that. His quads he's brought up, you know, it's very impressive. So I think like that level of freakiness and completeness that he has still has the potential to put him up maybe into a second. But you know, if it's Derek's show, then, you know, it makes it harder.
Well, when Nick turned pro, I know a lot of people were very high on him and he's very popular. When he first turned pro, I thought that Nick, while he was saying all the stuff that he pretty much wanted to achieve and probably will achieve, I just thought that he would be a guy that would be, yeah, he might qualify for the Olympia sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, get to that level. It's just, it shocked me. And he's proven everyone wrong by, you know, that year winning the New York Pro, winning the Arnold, and then placing, what was it, 5th in the Olympia? His first proper year. So, and, you know, at the Arnold, I actually picked him to win at the start of this year, I think it was. And there's a one time he did the opposite to me. And every other time I picked him, you know, lower, and he's placed higher. So,
well, there's an argument to be made he should have won that show, though. I thought he should have won personally, but, you know. again, the direction they're pushing it, you know, that's important.
Yeah. Had he won, there's a case for it. You know what I mean? Like you can say, well, he's harder, he's freakier, that sort of thing. So had he won the Arnold Classic, there'd be probably a different discussion around Nick, and we'd be saying, you know, maybe Samson can get him at the Olympia, but now a lot of people saying in their predictions, Samson will easily beat Nick, you know, so it changes the narrative a bit, just based off that Arnold Classic result. Even if it was closest in the judges' minds, it still like sets a precedent for the Olympia. But some of those other guys, I want to discuss Andrew Jack. We don't really have any updates from Andrew Jack at all, which is sort of disappointing, but we're going to get a surprise, hopefully, at the Olympia. Now, I think Dave Palumbo predicted Andrew Jack to win, so he's favoured by some people, and Dave's seen updates from Chris Aceto, so there's a bit of inside knowledge there, I guess. But, you know, Andrew Jack beat Hunter earlier this year, but it wasn't convincing in the judges' eyes because it wasn't straight firsts, and some judges had Hunter Labrada winning. So do you think for that reason, I'll go to you first, Stan, do you think for that reason the judges, you know, obviously only just favouring Andrew Jack, that sort of doesn't give him a chance to win the Olympia?
No, I think he still has a chance to win the Olympia. I think people maybe like right now, they, you know, haven't seen Derek compete in a year. We're seeing all these improvements. Samson is progressing fast, and we just don't see much from Andrew, so people can tend to forget how he looks like. And he's, you know, he's also pretty fast, but he doesn't post much. So I think he's just going to be in for a surprise.
Yeah, I think we always, like, everyone is, and I do it myself a bit as well, you're always getting the guys that are posting the recent updates. Generally, they get predicted higher. You know what I mean? Like, if someone isn't posting updates, like Brandon, no one was talking about Brandon even doing remotely well until he started posting some updates, you know? So it sort of goes a little bit like that. And Andrew's been pretty quiet. And I think for that reason, if we saw some freaky updates out of Andrew, I think people would be saying, like, more people would be saying, I think he could win the Olympia and things like that. But do you think it's just, like, for me, I think it's like another 1 to 2 years away before he can win the Olympia? He could win it this year, but I think that he's got a really good chance in a year or two once he's just thickened up a few areas a little bit, because everything else is there, you know, like his legs have improved a lot from last year, and that was one sort of area. His back's improved a lot, in my opinion. Do you see those improvements, Stan?
Oh, for sure. Even I got to see him like 3 weeks ago. I was in LA 4 weeks ago now. And then I saw him again in Chicago. We were doing a shoot for BSN. Like, he's a lot bigger than he was last year. His chest is even bigger. I mean, it just looks freakier. But I do believe he needs a little more time to really fill out his frame. But he's doing it right. So it's going to look very impressive at the Olympia this year. And I hope next year he competes a little less, so we can just see him, like, really make some major improvement, and then, like, come to the Olympia was like being a major threat to the title.
Yep. Marty, do you think if, like, maybe like Samson is like a top 2 contender, do you think that helps Andrew Jack in this show?
Oh yeah, I mean, it goes to be towards the shape factor, man. I mean, I definitely think that Andrew can be a threat. I'm kind of where you are. Like, I still think there's some gaps that got to be filled before he has an Olympia physique. Like, he's not a Mr. Olympia yet.
Well, that side leg just needs that little bit more crispness and just that little bit more muscle, but it still has come a long way.
Yeah, no, I mean, his improvements are insane, bro. I mean, even just from when I competed with him in Texas to this last Texas, like, I was very impressed with him. But he's still got to get the next level of conditioning, and he's got to. I mean, his entire posterior needs to grow, except for the glutes. Honestly, like, everything else needs to get bigger, you know. So, but he's definitely freak, and yeah, I do think that Samson being up there in that top 3 helps kind of draw eyes towards Andrew as well, you know, because the other 2 guys are 5'7" and little more dense, compact, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it helps him, but it's also gonna kind of expose him in some poses, because I think like some of Samson's like completeness, like especially like his quad sweep, because Andrew's legs are big, right? But they're not like popping off round like Samson's are, you know. And I think overall, I mean, obviously we saw at the Arnold, Samson beats him. I think they get into similar kind of condition. You know, they can't get that crazy grainy white guy look, right? But like, I don't think that's either of their games really, because I think he's just got Samson kind of beats him here and there, and he'll place ahead of him. I think that's kind of what the chatter's been too.
Yeah, I think your 280-pound ass is going to break that chair in a second. Hey.
You hear it? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're a good man.
Yeah, that's what you get for Craigslist.
Yeah. Just WD. Do you guys have WD-40?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You should probably put some on there. I'm gonna lean back and chill.
I had a chair like that, and every time I'd move, it would squeak. So I'd do podcasts, and I'm like, stay fucking still. Because I just knew if I was going like this, it was like, and then I WD-40 the whole thing, and I just couldn't find the area. So I just sprayed everything with it. But anyway, let's discuss Brandon Curry a little bit. I'll share his latest updates on the screen just a moment.
He's
but Brandon Curry,
yeah,
exactly. And when you look back, last year he missed his conditioning. He was still fourth, and he was big as well. And the legs weren't like, you know, because we didn't focus on him so much last year, it's like he almost was sort of overlooked because he had the excitement of Nick, and everyone had an exciting story around him. You know what I mean? And he was sort of fourth and, you know, sort of went backwards. So it wasn't as much of a big story, but the 2 years prior, he came second to Big Rimy, who won the Olympia. So he's gone first, second, fourth, and people are like, oh, natural progression, he's going down. But if he's corrected the conditioning issue from last year, it's hard to imagine he goes much below fourth if he's, you know, much improved, unless all these other guys obviously come in very freaky. But he's looking round as always. Like, even at his age, he hasn't lost any of his like pop and roundness. Like, maybe the legs could have come down. I mean, we can look at some of those other updates as well, but he's still got that same freaky roundness to his physique. So, I mean, do you think there's any way that Brandon could win the Olympia this year?
I don't know about win it, but I think, you know, it's the short memory thing that's happening here, because we've seen all these other guys compete more recently than the last Olympia, you know, whether it's in Texas or the Arnold or whatever, you know, with the, like, you know, Samson, Nick, and Andrew. But this guy, you know, he's been under the radar for a whole year. And then he pops back up again and he looks like this. And people weren't talking about him so much. So they're just like you said, the last memory was Brandon was off. He's not in the mix. I think that's incorrect. I think he could hop up into probably third or fourth. I don't know if he's beating Derek and Hadi, but yeah, if he's in condition, he can expose, you know, some of the other guys' weak points, because he's just so pretty in all the shots. Yeah,
Marty, what's your thoughts, man? Because he's sort of like a similar height to you, like a rounded guy as well. Do you see a way that Brandon, just say he brings sort of the conditioning he brought? I'm trying to think what year it was. I think it was the year after winning the Olympia, because people were critical on his condition a little bit winning the Olympia. So he came in harder. Could he bring that sort of level of conditioning potentially with, you know, last year's fullness? Then it's like, that's a crazy Brandon Curry. But obviously it's sometimes in prep, it's a little bit of a trade-off. And if you could just bring both easily, I'm sure he would. But it seems like, you know, from what he told me when I interviewed him, he said that he went out to Kuwait earlier. I can't remember what he said on and off the interview, but he went out there bigger earlier, you know, like he's got out there before and he's just been small, like just come out and just transform before their eyes, which I really wish they'd actually take photos and log those before photos and after photos and post them. Because he said, man, I go out there small sometimes. And he said, Abdullah said, just don't come out small this time. And he got out there and Abdullah was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we got a good starting point. And I think that's probably helped him this year more so than last year. So do you see any way that Brandon can win this Olympia?
Man, I hate saying never, because he's a Mr. Olympia. Like, there's no reason that we should count him out completely, you know? I love Brandon's physique. And honestly, I think we're going to see the best Brandon we've ever seen. So that being said, like, do I think he can win the Mr. Olympia? I don't know, man. I think these other guys have just surpassed him as far as what they do conditioning and shape wise. These other guys match his freaky shape that they can get in condition that he like literally can't. I don't think so. I could see him getting into the top 3 again, though, and I love this look, man. This is my favorite Brandon I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy to think, like, I assume obviously by you saying that you think he can be his best ever, or you think he will be his best ever, but there's other guys you have beating him, and he's obviously a Mr. Olympia. So that means from 2019 to now, if you're saying he can be his best ever, and there's like 4 guys beating him, that means there's 4 guys that could have, you know, had they come into that, you know, Mr. Olympia in 2019, how they're going to look at this year's Olympia, it means they'd win that Olympia. So it goes to show, if that's the case, then there's, you know, the talent in bodybuilding has definitely risen. That is the loudest notification I've ever heard in my life.
It should be turned on.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of new guys in the field. And they're all really damn good. That's what like people like to talk about. Bodybuilding's dying. Like, yeah, maybe at the amateur level, the amateur shows aren't what they used to be, but like pro shows are throughout the season. They're not necessarily stacked, but the Olympia is really interesting and good now, and there's a ton of studs up there. So
I think bodybuilding, it's been since the 90s.
Yeah, I was nervous there'd be a drop off with classic. I was like, you know, and then you'd see it smaller, you know, at amateur shows, you'd see like, you know, there's 3 bodybuilders in the show, or for like there's 8 bodybuilders or whatever.
Well, that is true. That is true at the local level.
Yeah, which I thought would hurt the top talent coming through, but it's just got better the last few years, which is surprising. And then you've had some guys moving from classic and moving up. So it's like almost like, would these guys have even got into bodybuilding at all if they didn't actually start at men's physique or classic? So it's sort of like, I'm like, I don't think it's helping or hurting necessarily, like the classic and men's physique. It's not necessarily hurting the open bodybuilding, unless in 5 years' time we see just a drop off in bodybuilding and we see, you know, no new guys coming through and we're all just trying to do the classic Olympia because the classic weight's gone up now. It's like, I'm not sure which way it will go, but yeah, it's interesting to know if it's actually helping or hurting bodybuilding full stop having all this. But you look on an amateur level, it's like it surprised me that there's still as many guys coming through that are so good, considering when you look at amateur shows. But I guess like there's just more people in the sport overall. Yeah,
there's more people, and I think that the guys who want to be open bodybuilders, you know, they always wanted to be huge. And, you know, previously the guys that were, you know, classic sized big, they just didn't compete past a certain level because there was no viable place for them to compete. Now they can go pro top 2 at junior nationals, you know, looking like they couldn't win a local bodybuilding show, and, you know, they get pro cards. So like, you know, the people turning pro and primarily competing in classic, you know, some of them are genetic freaks and they're taken away from the open, but like a lot of them they never would have been in the mix in the men's open pros anyways, because they didn't want to do that level of, you know, they didn't want to do what it takes, right?
Well, people fall off, like that's the thing. And like I just think about, I'm thinking about some individual people now, and then I just thought about myself. I'm like, well, I would have never had the genetics to be a top pro or anything like that. It's like I did junior competitions, I won a few and stuff, but it was like there was a limiting factor there, and it was my genetics. You know, like I would be the person that, you know, going through until I was just say early 20s, I was like so on point with everything. Like people would make comments like, Jesus, like, and I would force food to the point where I'd want to vomit, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'd put on muscle, but there was never going to be a stage where that was going to go to pro level.
I should rephrase that. Like, it's some of it's like people don't want to take it as far, and some of it is like the propensity to put on muscle tissue just isn't there for some people. And I know there's plenty of classic guys out there taking just as much gear and eating tons of food as an open guy. It's just their body isn't equipped to get that big, you know, for whatever reason. So
exactly. And then I went and did classic, which I still would have probably done some amateur bodybuilding comps, but like, you know, novice, and then maybe like under whatever weight, but no ambitions of doing well on a national level in that. But then I did classic, and then, you know, got a bit of an injury, and then did men's physique. It's like, well, I never would have competed full stop. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's not making any difference to be open bodybuilding on an amateur level, really, you know? Yeah. So, and to what's obviously going through to being with pros. And if you got this propensity to put on muscle like crazy, yeah, some guys might stay in classic, but most of them that can do it, you know, and get to the top of classic. And if you're going to be an open pro bodybuilder, you're going to eventually get to the top of classic, like Ramon and all these guys. Maybe they've just held back for a few more years and that's it, you know? But, anyway, who else have we got to discuss in the sort of top 7? We've got Hunter Labrada. I'll discuss him.
Hunter, yeah. Then
we'll move on to our picks. Because Hunter is sort of like, I think he's been left out more than most people. But you got Jay Cutler predicting him in his top 5 for the Olympia. And when you look at his updates, like he's hard. He's placed 4th in the Olympia before. I think he's going to be better than when he was 4th in the Olympia. So it's sort of like crazy that most people are just going, Hunter's going to be outside the top 5. And a lot of the comments, Hunter gets a lot of that. He really does.
God.
And I think because in some comps he's maybe, I know some comps he's maybe placed a little bit higher than he should, or one comps that people think he shouldn't have. But I mean, at the Olympia last year, I think his placing was pretty on point. I think at the last show, the placing was on point. You know, he didn't win over Andrew, then it would have, I feel like that would have been bad for him, to be honest. But you can see there, he's looking pretty damn good. This part of his prep, and he's figured out his conditioning, but he still seems to get that sort of maybe disrespect and hate. Stu, why do you think that is?
Why do people hate him? I mean, it's not because he's a bad guy. I mean, he's the nicest guy ever. It's just
seems like a great guy.
You know, I think he has gotten some gifts in the past, right? Let's be honest. I think he, you know, I don't know if he admit that, but like, yeah, he's gotten some gifts, and through no fault of his own, that's easy to hate. You know, he just you know, landed where they placed him. That's not his fault. But I know that he was very pissed off about his placing last year because he knew he was off. He wasn't what he could have been, and you know, I think for the first time in his career, he was truly in condition. In was it Tampa? Yeah, Tampa. He won Tampa, right?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, those shows all just blend together, man.
It was Tampa. Yeah, because Phil won Orlando, and then he was in great condition in Texas too. That 5th place spot is like so up in the air. I think it could be if 1 through 4 is you know, Derek, Hadi, Nick, and Samson in no particular order. Then 5th place is weird because you have Hunter, you have Brandon Curry, you have Andrew, and I think that's one of those guys is going to land in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, again, the short memory thing. Obviously, Andrew beat him recently, but if Andrew's not in, because Andrew was significantly softer than him in Texas, I think he deserved to win because he was so overpoweringly big. I didn't realize that scorecard was so close, though. I didn't know that some people had him in second, but
I think it was a prejudging. I think that maybe it was something like, I think 2 judges would have had Hunter winning or something like that. Or maybe it's both of them, actually. No, I think it's prejudging and finals. I can't quite remember. But yeah, I remember looking at it more like with high and lows thrown out, that means 2 judges would have had Hunter winning, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or what? Yeah.
It was very close in person.
So
it's very close in person?
It's a crapshoot.
What did you say, Martin? Did you say it was very close in person?
Yeah, it was very close in person, man. Like, honest to God, like, if Hunter wouldn't have been so flat, Hunter would have beat him, I think.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember Tyler Mannion mentioning that, you know, he faded and he said that's sort of what hurt him. So do you think that if he didn't start sweating and fading, do you think that the judges would have given it to him?
No, I don't, because he was like, he was going flat. Like, that's why he started to sweat and stuff. Like, he needed to be peaked differently. It's like Andrew came out and just got harder and better, you know? And like, really it came down to that though. Like, straight up, Tyler told us after prejudging, like, they're literally tied. Like, there's no doubt about it. He said, like, tonight I'm going to let him pose it out and like decide who the winner is. And that's exactly what happened. He just until somebody fell apart.
Yeah, and they did that with, I remember, Nathan Diasha and Samson Dowder over, I think it was the Arnold Classic UK, which Nathan beat Samson at. Top 2 call out, and it was close, and they just posed him until Samson died. It's like he was sweating, and I remember watching it, and because I know Nathan and Samson, I was like, you know, going for both of them, and I was like, just wanting them both to do well, and I just saw Samson fading. I'm like, Samson, like you could just sort of see it happening, and you know, it's almost now like if one of those guys starts sweating, it's almost like you know who's going to win if it's like really, really close, which is sort of fun, but also disadvantages Samson big time and a few guys that are big sweaters. So have you guys ever like sweat profusely on stage?
You know, I did in New York, actually. I never had an issue with it. I was peaked pretty good for New York too, but like those lights were bright. Actually, you know, Mike Lucy, Australian guy, dude looked like he went swimming after the show. Like he sweated,
and he's shredded too.
Oh yeah, he's inside out. The guy was not holding water. It was just like he was just baking. You know, he's a pasty white Englishman under hot lights. You know, so yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Which in a way is sort of surprising because Michael Lucy actually lives in I believe. Oh, actually, no, he lives in Victoria. I can't remember if he. No, I think he lives in Victoria. Never mind. I've already lived in Queensland, and it's quite hot there, but Victoria is actually quite cold, which is where Melbourne is and stuff. So, yeah, he's probably not used to that sort of heat.
Yeah, but you guys are all Englishmen at the end of the day, though. Like, do not get out for heat, man.
Yeah, and then there's so many people here now that have like, you know, different nationalities in them and stuff. I'm like, people are like, oh, what are you? Your name's Xavier. It must be something interesting. Like, and I'm like, I'm just white. I'm just yeah. Like, and I think like Australia is like built on like all like they sent the immigrants out here and stuff. Like, not the immigrants, the
prisoners.
Yeah, prisoners. Yeah, so I'm just descendants of prisoners, pretty much all of us. So it's probably why it's
kind of badass.
We're fucked up. Yeah, but that's what, actually, like I was thinking about this the other day, which is a weird thing to think about. I was thinking like, are Australians inherently worse people because our ancestors sucked? Like,
you guys are great.
Yeah, maybe that's why we're like, you guys know what bogan means?
Yeah, they're like hillbillies, right? They're like rednecks,
sort of. Yeah, like trash.
Yeah, white trash. Yeah, okay,
yeah, sort of like that. Yeah, but yeah, maybe that's why we've got so many of those here because there's a few. But you just got to stay in the right areas.
Man, there's plenty here too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. It's funny. Like with America, it seems like in different areas there's different. Like you know, you got the hillbillies in one area, then you've got like the street people in one area. It's like completely different, like subsections depending where you live in America. It seems like.
Yes, we're very diverse, but we're all awful.
I love that statement. All right, so let's get into our Mr. Olympia predictions. Do you guys have yours on hand? Because I got to pull mine up. What are you eating there, Marty? Chicken?
Chicken.
I'll ask you with your mouth full. Chicken and toast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I like it. Where's my predictions? Find them. Stu, do you have yours done?
Yeah, like I said, I've got everything except for the 5th place. So I'll by the time I've read off top 4, I'll figure out 5th. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
Okay, so 1st place, Derek. 2nd place, Hadi. 3rd place, Nick. 4th place, Samson, and 5th place. I gotta say Hunter, man. I like his physique a little more than Andrew's. Just my bias, I guess, but yeah, I got him in 5th, especially if he's in great condition like he was earlier this year, and a little fuller.
Is that because you did a pose down with Hunter and you?
Yes, really I'm extremely biased. No, I'm not trying to put myself up there. I do not belong in that category.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I like Hunter a lot. I know he was pissed about last year. He'll come correct, and boy, that's a tough 5th place though. That's tough.
Yeah, it's really damn tough. I've got mine here. Do you want to go first, Martin, or do you want me to go?
Whatever you want.
All right, I'll go. Actually, I've got to get rid of. Oh, I've got to get rid of some people. Are we doing it like Baruz is in it? Because I'll give it top 10.
I think that's very unlikely.
Yeah, it's not super likely right now, is it? I'll give my top 15 because I've got him here. I'm going to put Charles Griffin in 15th. Him or Ross Flanagan, one of those two. I've got Tonio Burton in 14th, Justin Shire 13th, Andrea Presti in 12th because I feel like he's overlooked and I feel like he's just wide, and I feel like he stood next to Brett Wilkin and it was somewhat close. Like some people had Presti winning. I still think Brett was pretty handily winning, but I think Brett's the top 10 Olympian, so I'm like, Presti 12th sounds right. Regan Grimes I have in 11th. Baruz Tabani, if he makes it, I have in 10th, so that would, if he doesn't make it, bump Regan Grimes into the top 10. Oh, actually, scrap that. I've got Nathan Diasher. Oh, are we predicting Nathan to be there or not?
No.
I don't think so.
We'll leave him out for now. Because he's back in the UK. I saw him eating some food too. So we'll leave Nathan out of it for now. So bump all those guys up one. So yeah, we'll have Charles Griffin in 14th and then Ross Flanagan in 15th, all that. But I've got Mikael Krizo. I've got Beirut in 9th if he competes. Mikael Krizo in 8th. Hunter Labrada in 7th. Andrew Jack in 6th. In 5th, I'm going to put Nick Walker in 5th. I think I originally predicted him in 4th, but I'm putting him in 5th, and I think I'm going to regret it. Brandon Curry in 4th. Samson Dowd in 3rd. Hadi Choopan in 2nd, and I have Derek Lunsford winning. So I think Derek and Hadi are so comparable, but then that could also work for Nick too.
You missed Justin Shire. He's in there.
No, I put him 12th.
Oh, you did? Oh,
well, originally I had 13th, but then obviously what's name won't be there.
That.
So he would be up into 11th if Baruz doesn't compete. All right, Marty.
All right. Well, I had Nathan in 6th, but because he's probably not going to make it, I'm going to go with Hunter because he did say he's up like 8-9 pounds. So hopefully the fullness is there. That's really, I mean,
from the last show, show?
Yeah, from Texas. But he sucked down way too much for it. Like I know Hunter's physique. I've seen it a million times, and we have really similar bodies. He just let it, like he sunk down a little bit too far. So I want to see that rematch. I do think it will be a very like Texas rematch of him and Andrew for that 6-foot spot. Then I got Brandon in 5th. I have Nick in 4th, Hadi in 3rd, Samson in 2nd, and then Derek winning.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, because I love Samson, and I think he can definitely win it. And I've talked to Samson, and I'm like, dude, you can win the Olympia. You know, like it's crazy because I remember talking to him a few years ago, and I used to talk to Samson weekly. You know, like every week on the phone, and it's like it's crazy from where he was then to just scraping by in bodybuilding, to where he is now. Yeah, like he was literally he was still working, I think, he's still working a full-time job. And this is only a couple of years ago. And now he's a contender to win the Olympia. It's just nuts how far he's come. So it's so exciting for him. And if he continues to because I never expected him to get to the level of where I don't think anyone was predicting him top 5 in the Olympia last year. Right. So he exceeded my expectations then. I was maybe like, 8th or something, that would be a great Olympia. Gets 5th or, 6th or 7th or whatever I predicted him. Top 5 beating Big Ramy. It's like, you never would have predicted that. So if he does something again that exceeds my expectations, considering I've got him in 3rd, then that's an Olympia win or 2nd, So he's come so far and I'm so happy for him. But there's so many good stories. Like you go over it and you think if Derek wins, it's going to be pretty cool because it's like a guy with a crazy taper to win the Olympia. If Hadi repeats, it's an impressive repeat. If Brandon wins, that's an awesome story. If Nick Walker wins, it's like he'll just be like, fuck you to everyone. And then you've got like obviously Andrew Jack, people would love that because of the shape. And then you got Hunter, that would be imagine if he won in a controversial decision. It's like
God, he would get shit on so hard I
think he's the most
he
hated
maybe
Mr.
deserved
Olympia
it,
ever.
man. Yeah.
And he is like you mentioned, he's such a nice guy. Like he's always been
Yeah.
super nice to me. I've never heard anyone that really knows him say a bad thing about him. So yeah, I'm hoping Hunter does well. And honestly, like I think about every single one of these guys. I'm like, I hope this guy does well. I hope this guy does well. I'm like, they're all hope they all do well. And you know, obviously only one guy can win, and three guys can be in the top three and stuff. So it's hard to fit that many guys into the top group of guys. But I think there's some pretty solid predictions. I think that now everyone's been doing their predictions. Everyone's sort of come to a consensus of the sort of top three, and more people have Derek. All three of us had Derek winning, didn't we?
Yeah, we can agree on one thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, he seems like he's the favorite now, which is pretty crazy to say, even after last year's Olympia, to say that Derek Lunsford is going to be the sort of like the large favorite. Because when I put my polls up, I think it was like 60% of people had Derek winning. And then it was like, 15% Hadi or 18% Hadi, and then 18% Samson, and then, whatever percentage everyone else. So he's definitely a clear favorite. So it's going to be exciting. And I'm going to be going live over the weekend. Are you guys both going to the Olympia, or just you, Marty? Or
I'll be there.
I'm not going.
Well, Stu, if you're around and you want to jump on for any of the lives I'm doing, because I'll be live literally like all weekend. So if you want to jump on any of those,
I'm actually Saturday, maybe Friday night, but Saturday night I'm going to actually be at a local show here. It's the same weekend, so I might be able to do prejudging. That's Friday night, right? Yeah.
So you're missing finals.
I'm sure somebody will be streaming it at that show.
Yeah. So yeah. So if you want to jump on any of those, man, because I'll be live 2 days in a row, because I think you got the 212 on one day, or 212 and I think it's 212, and then another morning you got Classic in the Expo and stuff like that. So there's always lives going up. So if you want to jump on any of them, let me know, and we can jump on over the weekend. And Marty, if you're ever watching any of it and want to jump in on anything that I'm doing live or whatever, let me know, man, because any of the post-show stuff, I'll be on live for a lot of the post-prejudging and post-finals and stuff like that. So everyone that's watching, stay tuned for that. And for myself, Martin Fitzwater, Beef Stu Stuart Sutherland, we are out. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bodybuilding University. If you did, there's a ton more episodes on desktop bodybuilding right now from the past. We've had guys like Nick Walker on. Obviously, weekly we have Brett Wilkin, Nathan Diasha, Martin Fitzwater, Stanimal Stuart Sutherland. Recently had Beef Stu Stuart Sutherland on, and we have a whole ton more guests coming out for you guys as well. Sergio Oliva Jr., tons of names coming at you guys. Also, you get tons of bodybuilding news, all that good stuff. So make sure you like this video, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself here, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, and you won't miss out on another episode of Bodybuilding University. So that's it for this one, guys. Xavier Wills and all the guys at Bodybuilding University. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.